Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So, quick order of business before we get into the video, just because if I seem off, this is exactly why. I am exhausted. When I say exhausted, I don't even think that term fully encapsulates the level of tired. A bitch didn't sleep. We'll just leave it at that. So, I want to talk about a shooter that has been in the news recently. The thing is, I'm not sure how aware everyone is of what exactly occurred, so before we get to talking to the identity of the shooter, let's actually talk about the shooting. Won't be okay for a long time. Community reeling after 2 killed, 2 critical when teen shooter opens fire at Christian school. A Wisconsin school community has been left traumatized after a 15-year-old female student killed a teacher and another pupil in a shooting spree on Monday morning at a Christian school. Police named Natalie Rupnow, also known as Samantha Rupnow, as the young woman who they believe killed 2 and injured 6 others at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin, beginning around 11 a.m. But even survivors lucky enough to escape with their lives won't be okay for a long time, said one mother. An 8-year-old student who witnessed the panic and wounding of a teacher told CNN, "I was really scared and I was really sad." Rupnow was found dead at the scene with evidence of self-inflicted gunshot wounds, according to police. An official cause of death has not yet been determined, and police have not yet determined a motive. So, a big part of the conversation around the shooting, aside from the obvious, which is hoping that the victims that were in critical condition or in the hospital recuperate, so on and so forth. Apart from that, people are trying to understand who was this shooter? And that's what I find interesting, just because otherwise I can't really determine a motive. Off the top of my head, I don't know why you'd just go and do that. Wisconsin school shooting, what we know about the quote-unquote turbulent life of 15-year-old killer Natalie Rupnow. Natalie Samantha Rupnow has been identified as the shooter and pictured at a firing range holding a gun in the months before the deadly attack. The 15-year-old shooter who killed a teacher and a student in a shooting at a private K-12 school in Madison, Wisconsin, had a turbulent home life, according to reports. Police identified Natalie Samantha Rupnow as the shooter at a Christian school, but have yet to reveal a motive following the deadly attack at Abundant Life Christian School. 6 people were taken to nearby hospitals after the shooting, with injuries ranging from minor to life-threatening. The victims have not yet been identified. At a press conference on Tuesday, Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes said Rupnow's motive may have been a combination of factors and that police were talking to students to determine whether Rupnow had been bullied. The teenager was reported to have a difficult time at home, according to court documents seen by the Washington Post. Rupnow's parents, Melissa and Jeff Rupnow, divorced and remarried multiple times, and their daughter was in therapy, the Post reported. Now, part of this is also that there is an alleged manifesto going around online, and obviously there's a part of me that's very curious to read that and see what is in that manifesto. The other part of me is this could have been edited by anyone. Depending on who posts it, if it's just some random Twitter account, there's really no reason for me to automatically believe that it's a legit manifesto. We'll look at that, but I think that's also obviously what everyone wants to know, why did you do what you did? Facebook photos surfaced Tuesday of Rupnow at a firing range pointing a gun and wearing a t-shirt similar to one worn by the Columbine killer Eric Harris. Harris and classmate Dylan Klebold fatally shot 12 students and a teacher and wounded 24 others at Columbine High School in Colorado in 1999. So we all know about Columbine, I'd think. So I don't know if there's any inspiration there, though obviously there's some similarities considering what has now transpired. So what they know about the suspect is, who is the suspected shooter? Rupnow was encouraged by her father to practice her weapon handling skills in the months leading up to Monday's bloodshed, according to a review of his online activity. In August, Jeff Rupnow, who was unable to be reached on Tuesday, posted a photograph on Facebook of what appears to be his shotgun-wielding daughter shooting clay pigeons at a local gun club. "Is that kiddo?" a friend commented. "Sure is," Rupnow, the father of one, replied. "We joined NBSC this spring and we have been loving every second of it." Here they also go into, she's wearing a t-shirt by this band that Eric Harris also liked, blah blah blah. I don't want to do too many comparisons with other mass shooters because I think you have to do that in a way that's in-depth and not just say, look at these 2 people, they liked the same band and both shot up schools, because I really don't think there's much to be done with that information. Court documents show that Rupnow had a turbulent home life, according to the Washington Post. Natalie Rupnow's parents, Melissa and Jeff, reportedly divorced and remarried multiple times. In terms of her turbulent home life, it says, the paper reported that the documents point to an unsettled childhood for Rupnow, whose parents' custody agreements sometimes forced her to move between their homes every 2 or 3 days. They reportedly divorced for the first time in 2014 and agreed to joint legal custody of their daughter. It was agreed that she would primarily live with her mother. They remarried in 2017 and divorced for a second time in 2020. They were to divide custody of Natalie evenly, the court records reportedly show. After they split up for the second time, they briefly remarried again. By April 2021, they were petitioning for a third divorce. So remember how I said there's a manifesto that was circulating? So I saw that circulating via a bunch of different Twitter accounts that to me have no reputable connection to the media, right? So like someone could send me a manifesto and be like, hey, this is the shooter's manifesto. You have no reason to believe that I would have that and that what I have is a genuine document that's been looked over, right? Now, I'm not saying the press is infallible. On the contrary, I critique them a lot. But in this particular case, it's hard unless you have a certain type of following to actually get real firsthand information. And also, I don't even know legally how well that's gonna pan out to like be involved in something where you're not the police or some kind of authority. But anyway, Barnes, who's the police chief, also added that investigators were looking into Rupnow's social media accounts. He said police were aware of a document being circulated on social media that had been referred to as a manifesto, but added that officials had not been able to verify its authenticity. We have detectives working today to determine where this document originated and who actually shared it online, he said. So on that note, this is the account that shared alleged information. This account made contact with the alleged boyfriend of Rupnow, and he apparently made all of these statements. Now, I'll put them on the screen. I really don't know if it's worth reading them out in the sense of like, we don't have any confirmation, and why is he going to a Twitter page instead of going to a news source? Like, there are a lot of questions I have about the validity. I'm not saying that the news page is necessarily lying. I'm just saying there are a lot of things here that might not really add up. I'll include screenshots that they claim are screenshots of the manifesto. I'll also put a link to this tweet. I don't want to read 6 pages of things that I don't even know are real, also because I don't want to spread misinformation if it turns out that this is not real, so I think we'll have to wait on the police. The fact that, though, this has already turned into somewhat of a media circus, because here are pictures of Rupnow, and then people were trying to say that Rupnow was trans and the boyfriend was trans, or that they weren't cis, or whatever, and it's like, in the context, part of your identity might be important, because it might be a driving factor. Who the fuck knows? But as of right now, it's just turning into clownery, because it's like, okay, well, they're a mass shooter, so whether they were trans or not, unless it's related to the motive, which we have no reason to believe, we don't care. Plus, they're not trans. But that's something that's been going around, because allegedly it had to be clarified that she went by she and she's a biological woman. I don't know why that's being dragged into it, but it is turning it into a media circus because, again, if the identity has nothing to do with the crime, which we have no idea, especially if we don't know if the manifesto is even real, why are we even really talking about this? Like, this is taking away attention from actually looking at things that could matter. Like, verifying the manifesto, that would be important. That would be the first thing I would do in this investigation if I heard of a manifesto. See if that's real, and then go from there, because probably you're going to get a lot of your answers from there that you won't get elsewhere, right? Anyway, there are pictures all over social media of Rupnow wearing the t-shirt that Eric Harris also had, but again, like, what are we going to do if I wear a Bowie t-shirt and a school shooter wears a Bowie t-shirt? It doesn't necessarily have to have any connection, so I don't really know why that parallel is super being drawn, unless it's referred to in the manifesto, if there is a manifesto, and if that manifesto is real. Yeah. I think what is interesting and what is also worth discussing, though, is this shooter's age. Now, I don't have the entire history of every single shooter in my head, but that being said, most of the school shooters I've seen in recent years have not been this young. Like, they've been 18, 20, 21, something like that. 15 is crazy. Not just because she had access to guns in a way that no 15-year-old should have, or any kid, really, or any irresponsible adult, actually. That's something to be noted, because there is something very unnerving about basically a child committing these acts, and I know she's a teen, not like a 5-year-old, but still, a 15-year-old, you'd want to know what the motivations are, which I think is why the manifesto is circulating so much, is because people so badly want answers, because this is a difficult one to answer in terms of why a 15-year-old would act that way. Another quick thing to be noted about the manifesto, if it is actually real, her and her boyfriend were long distance, so apparently they never met up, they only dated online, and apparently she sent this manifesto to the boyfriend, and the boyfriend only saw it too late. Which again returns to the fact of, why wasn't this forwarded to the police? And maybe it was, but I feel like giving it to random outlets online, if that's what you want to call Twitter, is not necessarily a great way of going about that. But again, all of this is so up in the air because the boyfriend wasn't physically present, they didn't physically see each other, they're online dating, so like, how did he get this manifesto? Can we confirm for sure that it was her manifesto? I just have so many questions, but as of right now, that's where we're at. But this has been flooding my timeline, specifically because of the clownery I mentioned before, where people were turning it into an identity thing of like, oh, well, she was trans and he was trans. And honestly, like I said before, unless your identity has something to do with the crime, I really don't give a fuck. It's about what you committed, the act. Hopefully we find out if this manifesto is real, because I do think that that would be essentially the most groundbreaking of documents to have, to at least get a view into what the fuck was going on here in the first place. Maybe potentially some peace or closure for parents. I can't speak on that. But at least it's something more than just saying, hey, this happened, we don't know shit. Anyway, you guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let me know if you've read the manifesto and if you believe it's genuine. But that's one of the things that's kind of counterproductive about the internet, is that, yeah, we can see a picture from 2008 and find someone that's been missing for years, but also there are people who just decide to make shit up just for the sake of chaos, and that is concerning at best. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.